Okay, historical returns. A set of studies dealing with returns on various assets was conducted by Ibbotson and Sequenfeld or Sequenfeld, however you say that. Um, they went all the way back to 1926. Yes, and followed five different types of investments. So look at large company stocks, small company stocks, long-term corporate bonds, long-term government bonds, and U.S. Treasury bills. We know, or should know, that you know stocks are more risky than bonds. Um, that treasuries are more secure than corporate bonds, and because they're short term, U.S. Treasury bills are the most secure assets available actually in the world, which is kind of amazing considering the state of our government. But anyway, so this chart shows the returns. It's we can see that the highest returns come from small company stocks, and not surprisingly, the lowest returns from treasury bills. We also have inflation included in here. Basically, inflation and uh, uh, and treasury bills pretty much track pretty closely to each other. Long-term government bonds slightly more than uh, I don't see corporate bonds in here, which is kind of odd, but anyway. So, then we have large company stocks. So, the order of returns would be small company stocks, large company stocks, corporate bonds. So this would be one, two, three, four, and five. And we'll see that as we move forward. So the so we're going to look at the returns based on the average return. So and this should be an equal sign here. R bar is the notation for the mean. So we sum up all the observations and we divide by the number of observations, and that gives us the mean. So the standard deviation is the square root of the sum of the squared deviations, and then we divide that by the number of observations minus one. The reason you subtract one, this is supposed to make your analysis more robust. So the fre- uh, the frequency distribution of returns. So what we're going to talk as we go through about the normal distribution. So when we use mean, this is mean variance analysis. The the variance, the standard deviation is the square root of the variance, um, and the variance is just the sum of the squared deviations. We're using mean variance analysis. We're using the uh, normal distribution. So, uh, so as we mentioned before, large company stocks were the second highest return, second highest standard deviation. So standard deviation, a measure of risk. You see the distribution here doesn't really look like a normal distribution. Normal distribution is basically, that's not a very good drawing, but something like that. But it looks more like a normal distribution than any other type of distribution. We see small company stocks, higher return, higher standard deviation, higher risk. So as we go down the list, corporate bonds, long-term government bonds, treasury bonds, so forth, and our inflation, an average over that 91-year period of 3% with standard deviation of 4%. So we interesting here that the standard deviation of corporate bonds is greater than that. Greater. Set it backwards. Standard deviation of government bonds is greater than that of corporate bonds. That wouldn't necessarily expect to see that. That could actually be because they're more liquid. So So, average stock return, risk-free returns. So, the risk premium is added over and above the risk-free rate, resulting from bearing risk. The risk premium for for any stock is the expected return on that stock minus the risk-free rate. So the so one of the most significant observations of stock market data is the long run or excess return over the risk-free return. So the so the average return for large company common stocks for the period 1926 2017 was 8.7%. So that would be we'd also refer to that as the market risk premium. The we take the expected return minus the risk-free rate. I don't know where they're getting the 3.4% because we have Treasury bills at 5.2%. But anyway, that's generally Treasury bills are used for the risk-free rate. Though the average excess return small company stocks is 13.1%, greater than the 8.7. So we take 16.5% minus the risk-free rate or risk-free return of 3.4%. So go down and look at corporate bonds. So that excess return of 3%, and 6.4% minus the 3.4%. So we'll start the next lecture that talking about risk premiums.